I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your coming and going, both now and forever. Psalm 121. I spent many years as a scout leader. During that time I developed a love of hill walking, and I then trained as a mountain leader, spending many happy hours walking in the hills and the mountains, and I very often experienced what is known on the mountains as an inversion. With an inversion, the weather at the foot of the mountain may be abysmal, cold, wet, windy, perhaps even snowing, but as you climb the hill, you walk through the grey and the misty haze of the clouds, and eventually you rise far above the clouds into glorious sunshine. Now for the people living down below, all is still grey and misty, but for you, the sun shines. Frequent flyers often see something similar when the aircraft they are travelling in rises far above the clouds. And it's this kind of experience that the psalmist reminds me of. However difficult life may be for us down below, as we lift our eyes to the top of the hill, we are reminded of the love of God and how He watches over us always. Do you remember the Rubik Cube? It appeared in the shops when I was a child. I could never manage to work them out, although there were many who could. 6 sides of a cube, each side divided into 9 smaller squares, each square a different colour, with the object being to achieve a single colour on each side of the cube. To some of us, life is a continuing struggle, and we puzzle over why things happen to us, and as we juggle with our emotions, it seems for some of us like trying to solve this Rubik Cube, but others manage it with ease. They seem to get all the good luck in this life while we just seem to get all the bad. They have health, wealth, happiness. We have poor health, poverty, sorrow. Their Rubik Cube is solved in glorious technicolor. Ours remains just an unfathomable puzzle. And yet here in this psalm, we're asked by the writer to understand that the Lord is watching over us so that no harm will befall us. At times it's hard to believe, but just like the Rubik Cube, just like the temperature inversion on the hills and the mountains, all will be well if we persevere and have faith in the God who loves us and will care for us throughout eternity. Our God can transform even our sorrow into eternal love. Rosemary Wells, an American author, wrote a story called First Tomato, which was published by Dial Books around 1992 in New York. The story is about a little bunny named Claire for whom everything is going wrong. She spills her breakfast on the floor, her boots filled with snow, her maths class goes on for 2 hours. She cannot do a cartwheel at playtime, and then, to cap it all, the bus is late taking her home. It is the wilderness journey and exile all over again, all in one morning. What Claire needs is a trip to the bunny planet, where the bunny queen Janet says, "Here is the day that should have been. I hear my mother calling when the summer wind blows. Go out in the garden in your old, old clothes. Pick me some runner beans and sugar snap peas. Find a ripe tomato and bring it to me, please. A ruby red tomato is hanging on the vine. If my mother didn't want it, the tomato would be mine. It smells of rain and steamy earth and hot June sun. In the whole tomato garden, it's the only ripe one. I close my eyes and breathe in its fat, red smell. I wish that I could eat it now and never, never tell, but I save it for my mother without another look. I wash the beans and shell the peas and watch my mother cook. I hear my mother calling when the summer winds blow. I've made you first tomato soup because I love you so." What does the story tell us? Well, it tells us that if we look hard enough, exactly the same as our psalm tells us. When we allow God the first fruits, the very money and things and people that we want to hold on to, God, like the mother in this story, transforms those things into what we need most. Soup and love, whatever that soup represents. Everything counts. Everything given is transformed into love and first tomato soup for someone else and for ourselves. I don't believe for one moment that God demands sacrifice from us. That would be to miss the point. What he does do is ask that we simply accept his will with grace. It's true, is it not, that if we did not have bad times, then we would not know or appreciate the good times. If we never experienced being sad, then how could we ever know when we were happy? And when bad things happen to us, we should recognize that God has a purpose and that he is continually working that purpose out in our lives. All things do ultimately come together for good, and in the wider scheme of things, we have to be content that our earthly trials and tribulations will soon fade away into the radiance of his eternal glory, that we will all be transformed. So, lift your eyes to the hills. Where does your help come from? Our help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth.